ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh yes it will. I go to the movies and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh yes it will. Then I go to my brother. I say, brother, help me please. And he winds up knocking me back down on my bended knees. Oh, there have been times when I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh yes it is.
This song was written by Sam Cooke, one of the most popular R&B singers of all time. In 1963, Sam wrote this after two events really. One was hearing Bob Dylan's Blowing in the Wind and thinking to himself, you know, I could write something like that. But then probably more, personal and close to home. He was traveling with his wife and his band to Shreveport, my hometown, and they had booked a hotel there in Shreveport to stay at, and once they arrived, the desk clerk looked at him and his entourage and said, sorry, no vacancies. No vacancies for people like you. Sam Cooke got a bit irate and began to demand to see the manager and demanded to be allowed to stay there, but they would not budge because it was 1963 in the South. They later moved on to the hotel that was available for black folks to stay at in Shreveport, and once they got there, the police were waiting there for him, and he and his whole entourage were arrested. I believe some of them were manhandled, so to speak, for that night in jail. And that left an impression on Sam. And the impression that left on him was that something's got to change. That in the midst of so much hatred, so much violence, in the midst of so much going on, something has to change. Will it ever change? Sam draws on really the experience of the church that he grew up learning about, the experience that we as people of faith know well, who study and follow a God who continues to remind us that even in the darkest times, there is still hope. In fact, you don't have to be black in America to know what it's like to wait for so long for a change to happen. I'm sure many of you know about change or the need for change in your own lives, whether that's waiting for joy to happen in your life, waiting for healing to happen in your life, waiting for you to no longer be afraid to happen in your life. Sam wrote these words that says, "It's been a long, long time coming, but I know that a change is going to come." That knowing is, in fact, the work of faith. It is the work of faith, and it is indeed the outcome of hope. That hope and faith in God who is working even when we can't see God working, and God who is making all things new even when things look like they're falling apart. The work of faith is to lead us to hope in God who has all things in his hand. It says the words of the psalmist, words of David really, from Psalm 33. He says, "From heaven the Lord looks down and sees all mankind. From his dwelling place he watches all who live on earth. He who forms the hearts of all, who considers everything they do. No king is saved by the size of his army. No warrior escapes by his great strength. A horse is a vain hope for deliverance. Despite all its great strength, it cannot save. But the eyes of the Lord are on those who fear him, on those whose hope is in his unfailing love, to deliver them from death and to keep them alive in famine." And so the psalmist ends in the same way that Sam ends with his song. Sam says, "It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is going to come." The psalmist says, "We wait in hope for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. In him our hearts rejoice, for we trust in his holy name. May your unfailing love, O Lord, be with us, even as we put our hope in you." Whatever you're hoping for, whatever you're waiting for, may you be comforted to know that God's eyes are ever upon you and that your change is going to come. Amen.